Welcome to the EBC podcast, More Than Fitness. With a combined 50 years worth of experience and knowledge in the industry, we're going to have an open discussion on everything fitness and more. Hosted by myself, Wes, an EBC director, James Sweeney, a sports scientist and EBC director, Glyn Roberts, a former Royal Marine and EBC director, and Will Young, our online coach specialist and EBC instructor. Right, welcome back, guys, to the EBC podcast, More Than Fitness. Today we're going to be looking at Q&As. So we've asked our members across all locations, send us some questions. I'm going to throw them out to the boys live. Sweeney's got one, I think, coming really late doors. He's going to start it.
There was two, actually.
Two in really
One of them
late.
was a bit inappropriate about your tan lines, which I won't mention.
What's that?
Yeah, it was a short
Right,
thing.
fine.
And the other one was, is Wes actually that short? And it was like, harsh, but yes.
Is that where we're going to go?
Was that your actual question?
Actual question.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah, that's
Brilliant.
basically what it is.
So
I
glad
thought you had a good one.
contributed. Absolutely awesome.
At least you didn't bring up the genie.
No, that's later. The wishes.
Right,
Go on,
we
let's
progress
get-
now,
come on,
shall we?
As
Go on,
you
let's
were.
go.
Absolute. Right, guys. So, firstly, please like and subscribe. Every single bit of feedback we've had so far has been really positive. I don't know about you guys, but everyone that's spoken to me have always said good things. The only thing I had was, Will, stop wearing a hat because everyone wants to see your face. Glyn, I'm not going to tell you what they told me about you, but we'll carry on. And Sween, if you could just keep repeating yourself, that'd be really good.
Like a parrot. It's reinforcement, mate. It's reinforcement. Trying to get the point
He
across.
just did this. He just did this.
It's reinforcement. I have to say things 3 times for Glyn to understand. That's basically what it is.
You know what it is, mate? It's because I've known you so long, I just naturally switch off to
Switch
you
off every
talking.
time
No, that's a fair comment.
Yeah, it's like a marriage, this is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fair comment.
That makes you the woman.
Put your hand up.
I will own that one.
It is
Wear
what
that
it
one.
is. It is what it is.
Right, guys, we're going to dive straight in. So we've got quite a few questions. First one that was sent in. I'm going to keep them completely anonymous, mainly because I didn't write down who they were from. If there was one thing you could add to EBC and one thing, if anything, you could take away / change, what would it be and why? Will, you are the youngest one at the table.
Oh, I have to start, do I?
Yeah,
One thing I can add to EBC. No time to even think about this one.
mate. I don't like giving you any time of
It's
anything,
killed you
mate.
there. It's killed you, isn't it?
You have.
But just remember, you've only got 50 words on that mark.
Yeah, good one.
It's recycling my banter, Wes, by the way.
Let me have a think. Who's got one?
Jim's definitely going
Go
to
on,
answer to
go on,
this.
do it. Read it again, Wes.
Read it
Something
again
you would
for
add.
So, if there was one thing you could add to EBC and one thing, if anything, you could take away / change, what would it be and why?
I think one of the things to take away is that sometimes when people start, their starting point, they forget that quite quickly. And you, as a trainer, you see someone, over the period of maybe a month or 6 weeks, you see them improve quite a bit. And I think because of the nature of the training is always tough, and we basically take people out of their comfort zone, they don't necessarily see themselves getting any better and improving. They don't see the progress. And I think one of the things I would change is that maybe we put like a metric in at the start for people where they can actually start tracking their progress, because it's quite significant. There's a couple of people at Chelmsford at the minute, they've come a long way, but I don't think they can see they've come a long way.
Yeah.
Even just getting round like part of a session, sometimes we do a bit of a run out or whatever, and that's really, really important to acknowledge for the people that are starting out and the members that are starting out.
Yeah.
So that's something over
true,
time that I think probably we could have tried to improve a little bit.
It's an interesting point that you make there, actually, because I said to one of the sessions I did, of a couple of sessions I've done at Brentwood recently, is I've taken snippets away from my own track training and taken it over there. And I've been making them do, keep calling it Run Club, because I'm basically making them do timed intervals using the football pitch like an athletics track, like 800 metres, 400 metre interval timed. And they are hard. That's really hard. When I set them a target, and if they don't beat it, they get basically a punishment. So their mindset is beat. And going on what from Jim said there, I pulled them to the side the other day and I gave them a massive chuck up and said to them, I don't think you realise how hard this session is. It's brutal. And, they're all stood there going, oh, this is so hard. They're on the floor feeling a bit like one of them members, Dawn Fagent's over there, shout out to Dawn. She's a little animal, right? And she was on the floor going like, and I just went, this is hard.
Actually,
Hard session. She was like in the corner. It's a tough session.
It is
but what
difficult,
they
though,
don't
isn't it?
realise is how fit they've got from doing the training, because we pushed them hard.
Yeah, and because they're always around the same people as well, so they're always just working off of each other. But if you put them in another location, they're probably going to say, "Whoa, look at how much I'm progressing and stuff." Because you're always around the same people, isn't
things
it?
come to you as you're talking as well. Like, also, if you were to write down, if you were to program out, this is what you're doing today in terms of reps, exercises, you'd be like, "This is what we're doing, guys." They'd be like, "I can't do that."
Yeah.
And yet they do it.
Yeah.
Well, how many times have you had someone at the end of the session that tracks the distance or anything from the Garmin and go, "We've just covered 5K," and you're like, "Yeah, 5K plus how many reps?"
How many reps? Yeah.
I mean, some people can't go and run 5K full stop, let alone chuck in every other exercise, carry, lift, throw, and God knows what else we chuck into that hour. It's an interesting point, because people definitely don't realise how effective the training is, because it really is effective, because everything's so different all the time. You're constantly challenging a different metric of the body, aren't you? A different dynamic, So, I mean, that's an interesting point.
I think things to add as well. I think some of those things. Giving an example, some of the bits we're doing with the 60-day challenge that obviously we've been working on over time, and Will's been quite influential on. Like, that's answering some of the problems. So some of the problems we've got with the business, or some of the things that we'd change, we are trying to address. Yeah. So the metrics are put in there on the 60-day challenge to start to measure where people are at and improve. And obviously some of the other bits and pieces maybe that we're not, the moving parts that we're not comfortable with, we're behind the scenes, we're trying to improve, which
cover every area.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we are definitely deep diving the business at all angles, trying to figure out different ways, different solutions, how we can evolve it.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the things for me, I don't know what you guys think, is I think when someone comes in fresh off and they've not trained for so many years and they've got that bug and they want to go really hard, but what they end up doing is actually doing 4 sessions in a week, 4 sessions second week,
and
then they hurt themselves.
Yep.
And it really sets them back so much, and they get really disheartened and actually end up losing those people. I think for me, something I'd probably look to change is building stages into their training.
Just managing that.
So managing the training expectations and not just going 100 miles an hour straight off the bat.
Good point.
I was going to say a kind of similar thing, but not necessarily something I would change, but to make more people aware that we do cater for all abilities, because a lot of the things, or a lot of times when I'm doing a session, particularly on a run out where I see a lot of people down at Southend, people will be commenting on how difficult it looks, when really everyone is capable of doing it, and we do cater for all abilities. So again, it's not necessarily something that I would change, but I would look into a way of what we could really address.
On that, so that's good. That's a good point. I got asked this recently this week. Someone compared us to another firm that split into ability groups. So it was a phone call to someone that wanted to trial. She'd trained with actually it was BMF up in Birmingham somewhere, and she asked the question, do you split ability? And we were like, no, we feel that our version of that, not to say that's wrong, but our version of it is that we make that, which is the point you're making, we make that the instructor's job to bridge the gap between ability levels and where people are at, and if it's the instructor's obligation really to make that happen.
Yeah, it's probably one of the hardest parts of the job.
The thing is, though, that ethos did come from the military. That is a typical military boot camp thing. It's one in all in.
Yeah.
But that's what creates a community and a bond
you were
between
big on
people.
that at the start, actually.
Yeah, because we talked about it, didn't we? Like, do we? That's when we come up with the whole red top, red bib thing. It was like, because you become one. You're as one.
Yeah,
you're not one. Because yes, there is, I think, benefits to putting someone in a slower group and all that kind of stuff. There is benefits to that.
Controversial, actually.
Yeah, it is.
No, the bibs. We don't really do the bibs anymore.
Oh,
do they come back?
Spoke about
Do they come back?
Someone spoke about them the other day.
Should we bring them back?
Do we get the bibs back? I was like, those bibs are what started COVID. So I don't know if we want those bibs back.
Bad.
They were crawling out the van.
We should put it out there. Does anybody?
Shall we put it out? Anyone want a bib back?
Especially gyms. Bloody hell, I think they're still walking.
It's a good point though of going into. I like, instead of regressing sessions for each person, everyone does the same thing, but instead of making it easier for the slowest person, you make it more difficult for the quickest person. Yeah. Maybe with a weighted vest or more reps or whatever. So everyone gets the same, but instead of regressing it, you're going to get a few extra.
Yeah,
reps.
100%.
It's definitely
Or
a
if you
skill in
finish
what we
early,
do, though, isn't it?
if you finish early and you're back before everyone else has done what they're doing, you're going to do something different. It's always used to be
just
the
make them do
the way.
double
Yeah,
the
it's like
rep.
being in the
Yeah.
Marines. If you pace to be a winner, you think, right, fuck it, I'm going to win this one. You win the run, you go and run 200 meters up a hill and back. But even though you've won it, you're now just banging out push-ups till the last person's done.
Yeah.
So you're not necessarily done.
No.
If
You're
you
just
look at
made
it-
to work still to that point.
If you look at it from an output point of view, like literally purely output, like the guy maybe that is just starting out will probably have a reduced output compared to the person that's been training for a long time. But everybody gets that workout.
Yeah.
Everybody works to their perceived limit,
To that, yeah.
and that's the beauty. That's part of the beauty of it. One of the reasons we started, I remember, we had conversations at the start when we used to try some of this stuff out. It was like if we could just take the intensity and control the intensity, and that was one of the original kind of premises behind what we were doing. So that you go into most gyms on a Monday night, Tuesday night, a lot of people are not working out hard enough. It's like, well, we'll make sure that you get a workout.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that was spoken about a
We
lot.
create the environment, didn't we?
Yeah.
That we want there and then.
But that's a skill.
And I think it's, 100%.
And I also think from that point of view as well, it's really, really easy to put together a really, really tough, ridiculously hard workout to make people, there's no design in that. It's got to be, there's got to be some design there.
I always remember you saying that to me when I first started. It's easy to give someone a thrashing, but it's not easy
Yeah,
to adapt it
100%.
to every person.
It is, yeah, but then it just becomes mindless, isn't it? It is very easy to do that. Any trainer can stand in the field, put a couple of kettlebells out there and go do 1,000 burpees and swing the kettlebell 100 times or something like that. There's no skill set.
That has
There's
happened.
no skill set to that.
That has happened before as well.
Yeah, I think that was my session last week, actually. No, but there's no skill set to that, is there?
No.
It's getting everybody at the end of the session feeling like they're in the same boat. Do you know what I mean? Whether they're ultra marathon runners or they can't run for a bloody bus. At the end of the session, they all want to feel like they're in the same boat, and that's the important part of it, because that's where you get that community feel from. Like, so I'm quite big on when I partner people up and team them up. I put opposite abilities, fast and a slow person, because the faster person buggers off to do their loop or whatever. They're so quick, they come back. That person's done 5 reps, opposite way round. That other person's running so slow. Mr. Fittest athlete, Joe in Brentwood, is doing 1,000
Slamming
press
out
ups.
1,000,
Good.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's going to work you hard. So I think it's just it does make it harder for us as instructors to be able to balance that. But
if we're not getting challenged, then it is just
exactly.
just a job in it.
Exactly.
So, but I think for me, one of the biggest things I love is that it does not matter what walk of life you are. When you're on that field or out wherever your location, you are treated exactly the same, and I love that. That's one of the big things for me. You like this, Wayne?
Yeah, I'm just engrossed, mate. Engrossed what you're saying.
So that kind of segues nicely into, because we're talking about instructors and stuff. So one of the questions that was sent over,
Was that one question we just answered? Yeah?
that was one question. Mate. There's only 32 to go.
Did we actually even answer the question?
We spent most of that time trying to buy time for Will to think.
Yeah. Will, you
Have I gone over my 50 words yet?
What training do you put your instructors through prior to taking over a site?
Now,
We've always been massive on this.
yeah,
Massive.
yeah, yeah. We have been massive on that.
So
Have
back
you drew a fitness tattoo?
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
back
yeah.
in the day,
That's why it's taped.
back in the day, everybody had to run a mile in a certain time, and basically take part in a fitness test. Because going back to what we were just talking about as well, as to being that guy, if you were doing a run out, you had to be at the front of the session, the back of the session, in the middle of the session, on a run out.
Yep.
So you've got to be quite fit. That was something that we always considered, which again was kind of borrowed really from military trainers. But for me, and I know you're going to have your penny's worth on this as well, but fitness was a thing. Coming down and actually taking part of a session and making sure that it's for you. It's part of the culture. Because it's no good. We've had guys come down, it's just not their bag.
Yeah.
So the first thing is come down and take part in a session. And you don't need to be the fittest or the strongest or anything like that, but you need to be able to do the session.
Yeah.
And that was always something that was never done anywhere else. So there was that, take part in a session, and then we've got, once someone's, they're a fit effectively, we've obviously got some criteria that they've got to meet in terms of being a practical instructor, which is quite lengthy. And depending on your background, and where you've come from, what skill sets you've got, it'll be X amount of hours on the floor shadowing before you do an assessment. So again, like it's not like a 5-minute job, and everybody has to. The bar's high. We purposely make the bar high because again, without being disrespectful to anybody at all, but the bar to get into the fitness industry is quite low. So we made sure at the very, very start that anybody that came in had to be at a level practically to instruct.
It's not just practically, it's like the physical side of it, it's the personality side of it. You know, standing in front of a group of people, you've got to have a certain way about you. And also, going off what Jim just said, there's like a level of respect.
Yeah.
If you are, excuse this expression, a bag of shit as an instructor, right, the members won't have any respect for you.
Phil, you can edit that out.
After my last one, no one cares about my swearing. I'm trying to really curb my swearing at the moment, so I apologise about the last one. I was out of my comfort zone about the PTSD. Anyway, no, but at the end of the day, you can't. What do they say? You can't trust a skinny chef, right? You have to have someone. You have to have someone in
We've got
front
no
of you.
issues with chefs, by the way. None.
You get my point. You have to. If I'm going to stand in front of the group, and I've had it over the years where people would go to me, people would literally challenge me and go, "How do I know you can do it?" And I would go, "Challenge me any day of the week, and I will win." I'm telling you now, I'll win. That might sound arrogant. I might lose, but my mindset
I'm pumped
is
with you
that
there.
my mindset is I will beat you into the ground to not lose.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a military thing. If I again go back to the Marines, as soon as you're at Lympstone, you see the PTIs. You
in the Marines,
they say jump. They say I was, yeah.
He's fishing.
That backfired. The PTI said jump. You didn't question it.
No, you just
because
did
you
it.
respected that they were Marines. You respected that they were PTIs, extremely fit, well trained. Like if I was going to go through 8 months of hell and have I don't even know what to say, some shit trainer, like some PTs are going to go, you're going to go and do this now. You're going to be like, mate, I bet you can even run a fucking 30 miler. You're expecting me to do it.
The PTI course as well is one of the
The
hardest courses you
PTI
can do
course
within the
is
core as well.
evilly hard.
I remember seeing them in training. You think you're working hard in training, doing like camp circuits, and you see the PTIs doing like 2-3 times.
Massive hats off to club swingers, mate. Their course is really hard. However, because then as soon as the PTI stands in front of you and he's on the dais in front of you in the gym, you're just like, yeah, I'm going to do as I'm told now. Because there's a level of respect. And it's the same for us. Like, I can't stand in front of, this is just me personally, I can't stand in front of my group and tell them that they're going to drag this, carry that and do this if I couldn't do it myself.
Yeah,
and the Marines always used to say to us, we will never ask you to do something that we can do ourselves.
Yeah.
And we said that from day one. I said that to you, didn't I? Like you have to have that a level of self-accountability and discipline and respect for yourself to be able to stand in front of people. Like, what am I going to do? Tell them to run up that steps 100 times? I couldn't do it. If you can't do it yourself, don't ask them to do it.
Yeah.
We've had, sorry mate, but we've had trainers like that over the years that have made people do things, and I've rung them up and gone, would you do that? Oh, I can do that. Why are you asking them to do it then? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I won't name names.
But that's a culture that
You did though.
Because there's some people that could.
that's a culture that I think's run through the business from the start, and that's definitely our input. And it was Glyn's background, definitely, and there's a lot borrowed from what he's talking about with the Marines there, and how that works in terms of hierarchy. But also in the fitness industry as a whole, you do your qualification in a classroom, and you do a very, very kind of like clinical assessment, and then you're expected to go and teach people.
Yeah.
So, I think we tops it up and flips it around and was like, well, to instruct under our banner, you're going to need to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
And I don't think we make sure that people are at the level, and I think so they can go live and start running sessions, but it still takes quite a long time. We always say it takes a winter to make an instructor.
Yeah.
It takes quite a while for someone to
experience it. It took me, I think, from September. This was back in 2018. September through to I think my first ever session was January, and I was shadowing. I came along to every site. I think I went to you quite a few times as well. And then we've just built up over time. I started shadowing and then started taking segments of sessions and half a session.
It's not easy though, is it?
And then it wasn't.
Because it's not easy. There is no one rule for it. Some people will be a lot quicker. Some will need a little bit more time.
And I look back, you look back now and like the changes that I've made since then. I think the second ever session I did, I was covering you on a Saturday. There was 34. I always remember that 34 people at Brentwood. It was my second ever session since actually passing that instructor test, the one where you had to assess me. And I look back at it now and I was like, fucking hell, like the session I did back then to now, it to be honest, probably a lot wouldn't have changed. Just confidence.
It's how you deliver
Confidence
it.
in delivery.
But
It's the delivery of the
But
session.
I had the bollocks about me back then just to go in and step in and do it. And I'm not sure what or why that was, but I think it's just down to the amount of hours that I actually shadowed and went through and watched it.
It's also belief in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you don't believe it and you're like talking the message in front of people, how can you expect your clients to believe what
It's
we're
funny
doing?
though, because you're making me think on that note, we probably could do it, getting all the instructors together again.
Well, the thing, like that's
Doing
the
a
thing.
free
Like
session,
in the
I'll take it.
background, in the background, we've been talking for months on this side. We just haven't evolved it yet. Is the ongoing instructor development?
Yeah.
That's the stuff that we're looking at trying to implement and change. I know we've done some feedback questionnaires, and the next round are going out in the next couple of weeks.
Just people
But
moving
it's
around different
constantly-
sites.
yeah,
It
it's
was really important for
constantly
me to
changing.
shadow different people.
But you know what? Sorry,
Go on.
I'm trying not to keep jumping in, Wes.
You're a good mate.
Feedback.
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 We're 2 questions in, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I lost my train of thought now. What was I saying?
We're talking about
Refo-
said,
think,
do you
think-
know?
think protein and then refocus back in, mate.
I'm probably juicing. protein.
Exactly that.
I've got some beef jerky. Right now.
we do need to get the team together, and
Absolutely.
what it does is when it reminds you, right, of what the members are going through. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I was to get all the instructors together and put you through a real tough session, I'm going to tell you now, you're going to be like, oh shit, now I remember what it's like, because you do forget. And you know, I remember Jules many years ago. I remember when he first started. You know, he'd been in the army for a while. He got the idea of it, and I remember taking him to a session in Brentwood and thrashing him.
Shout
and
out
he
to
got
Jules.
a raving ump.
Shout out to Jules, by the way.
He got the ump,
Jules.
right? And I'm sure if he listens to this, he'll remember this. He got the ump with me during the session because he'd forgotten what it was like to be on the shitty end of the stick.
Yeah.
And I think every now and then
You
you
do,
need
yeah.
a reminder.
A
Which
humble
is,
pie.
yeah, which is why, I'm digressing here, which is why personally I put myself through shitty training, constantly remind, it humbles you. And I do think we do probably need to get the team back together and basically give them a bit of a humbling session. A bit like our training session.
I'd feel like
it does though, doesn't it? Like all jokes aside.
I did a session with Glenn a couple of months ago, and different style of training, more what I wanted to move into. And yeah, he absolutely fucked me up.
But no, but
Massively.
I did this. I did a similar session with him.
That was years ago.
7 years ago,
I remember,
and I
yeah,
still
mate.
get flashbacks.
I remember getting to the end of the first segment. We were like an hour in. I'm like, oh, like, is this the last bit? And it was like, no, about halfway through. We've got another thing to
But
do
you
now,
do,
and then we
you
got
need that. I
this.
think
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
instructors, again, it's self-discipline.
But it's also as a team, it feels good to be together. It
Yeah,
makes
it
you
does.
feel
I just think
part of the bigger picture, part of the bigger brand. So everyone's working. We've all got the same message. We want to get it out, and it's just nice to be around the
Yeah.
table together.
I
It
think-
just doesn't always feel like that, unfortunately.
From a values point of view as well, like again, as you lot are talking, you sort of think about it. I feel like a charlatan, right? If I wasn't putting myself out of that comfort zone a couple of times a week and hanging on to like interval running or whatever it is you're doing an interval session, I don't think I'd be able to stand up at the front and run a session, because I'd feel like an absolute charlatan if I wasn't doing something like that myself. Do you know what I mean? There's got to be like a values sort of system in there that kind of, because everything you guys are saying there, it kind of like comes back to the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. It'd be very, very easy, and it goes back to the previous question as well. You do other sessions and whatever, where people laying sessions out and they're not realistic sessions, because you think, well, if you're asking someone to give a minute max effort on something and then give them 20 seconds off, no chance.
That's insane, isn't it?
Like, if you're going to do a minute, you're going to need a couple of minutes out, like recover, So try doing something for a minute over the next couple of days.
Mate, listening to you is hard enough.
Good. All right. That's not bad for you either. It's not bad for you.
I gave you eye contact and everything then. Right, moving on, because you are taking forever. We have got loads of questions.
Go.
We're going to go for 5 in this. How many days should I work out?
For what?
That's it.
What we
That's
trying
all
to
I got.
achieve?
It's not specific enough. It
Yes,
needs to be
yes,
for
yes.
what your goal is, for what
we
you don't
trying
know
to
your
achieve?
age, your
Okay,
how busy you are.
let's go from off the back.
Generalise
off the back
it.
then.
Generalise it.
Okay.
But what's the average age? So we're going to target this towards boot campers, right?
Yeah.
What's the average age?
35 to 45.
Yeah, mid-phase.
Right. Recovery, sleep, lifestyle. It's a really hard one to answer, isn't it? I'd say, I mean, you could train. You can train twice a day. But are you recovering? You were eating? Are you sleeping? Are you highly stressed? If you are, then you can't train twice a day.
Do you think that boot camp is something that should be completed 5 days a week, or do you think it should be split up with some other form of exercise alongside it?
Good question. I've always said that I'm a believer that you should have different styles of training. I don't just because we run a certain style of exercise, a certain training regime, I've never said that's the one thing you should stick to. We spoke about this in the previous conversation about being a hybrid athlete. I do think it's important to be able to do different things. Like we ours is endurance, it's body weight, it's conditioning, but does that mean that someone shouldn't go to the gym and lift heavy deadlifts or squats a couple of times a week? No.
Yeah.
Does that mean that someone shouldn't go and run half marathons once a week? No. So it's a really hard question to answer, that one. It depends who asked the question.
It's also it's very
are they a
individual,
20-year-old or are they a 50-year-old?
Do you know who asked it?
I'd have to go back through. I couldn't go on the top of my head.
How many times a week? Really, you're talking what? If look at it like timescale. I said this to one of my clients the other day, right? I said to her, I went, how many times a week you train? She's like, 3 times a week. I went, 3 hours a week. She was like, yeah. I went, how many hours in a week? She just looked at me and went, you get where I'm going with this, don't you? What's the percentage of only 3 hours out of a whole week? Nothing. It's nothing. You know what I mean? So really, you should be training.
I like to say 5 days a week.
I was going to say
but
5 days really, a couple of days off. One
adequate rest within there.
Yeah, one completely doing nothing really, like proper rest, and one low activity. Going out for a walk, cycle, swim, that kind of stuff.
I like for my split specifically, and I don't know if this would work for anyone else, but I always train within a week: 3 days on, 1 day off; 2 days on, 1 day off; 3 days on, 1 off; 2 on, 1 off consistently. And that works perfectly for me because I don't like having 2 rest days in a row back.
So the one thing I'd say back to that, being considerably older than you, is listen to your body.
Yeah.
I guess we were saying about the Garmin's, right? So my Garmin yesterday told me to literally, I woke up and he went, rest, do not train. I ignored it, trained, hard session yesterday. This morning, I'm surprised it hasn't given me some sort of like shock. Because it's like, do not train. Because I feel it today.
It's not talking to you, is it?
Basically, you're on time out.
You've got to listen to your body. Like today, I genuinely feel like from doing track sprints and God knows what else, beginning of this, I feel tired. My body is hurting today. Like I can't recover like I did when I was 20 years old. So, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything today. As much as I want to, I have to rest today because I'm not going to have anything left in me tomorrow.
Yeah.
So listen to your body.
We're talking probably top 15, 20 percentile here of people that work out regularly. And work out regularly, stat-wise, is about just under 3 times a week. So if you're someone that works out regularly, then I think what you're both saying applies. If we're talking about someone that doesn't do anything, which is 80% of the population, I think you're looking at sort of 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And if they were doing nothing into exercise and they were doing 3 sessions a week, and it was, I don't know, a run and a couple of boot camp sessions or 3 boot camp sessions, I think the attraction of what we do in terms of an offering is that it's quite broad.
Yeah.
You can come down to our sessions, you haven't got to think about anything, you get told what to do. Your intensity, as we were talking about earlier, gets managed. And basically you'll get a very good base level of fitness to let you go and do anything. How many people do you spoke to that are like, my 5K time has gone through the roof? Funny that. We're covering X amount probably that relates to about a 5K time during a session. Most sessions we're conditioning people, we're high intensity, fit in comparison to your body weight, so it's a good all-rounder. And I think some of that comes back from the military connections. Again, it's like basic training, isn't it? It gives you a good platform to go and do anything, and then you need to be a little bit more specific with your training. If you want to go more strength, then you pull in that direction. If you want to run, then you start to be specific about what you're doing. But I think as a base, the offering's solid, and that's why we're still here. It's 17 years.
I just want to touch on quickly as well. I don't know how to word this properly, but someone like me and you, or anyone here that
why not Wes?
Training is a regular part of our lives.
Why not Wes?
When training is a regular part of our lives, right? You feel like
is that a red light?
If you don't train, this is going to go straight out of my head if you keep going on. It's gone out of my head.
50p's going to run.
That was about 100 words ago, mate. Actually, so. It's gone out my head. Nice one.
Sorry, Will.
You've absolutely done it.
Okay, so fitness is a regular part of our lives, so it's something that we consistently do. And if I don't train, then I feel like I haven't achieved something out of my day. I think it's important for those people that training isn't the most enjoyable part of their day to have structure. So I know what you said about listening to your body. So you don't need to have specific days where you take rest days. But I also think it's just as important to have structure in the days that you're training. For example, I'm going to train every week consistently, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I'm going to stick to that. even if you are aching on those days, it's important to stick to those days. I feel like if people start putting off those days, if you get to a Wednesday and you're like, I should probably take a rest day, but that's your regular training day, what are the chances of you repeating that session tomorrow? You're probably not going to. So my point there is that structure's probably equally, or if not more important than just listening to your body and taking rest days.
It's a fair point. It is a fair point. Because I always say, like, people say to me, how often do you train? I say, I plan to train every day. But life dictates that I don't train every day.
Yeah.
That's a good idea as well. Why not plan to train every day, and the days that you do need to take rest days, you just take your rest days?
But then again, I think that like, a lot of that comes down to experience.
Yeah.
Do you know
Also
what I mean?
being disciplined and not going, I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow's the
Because
rest day.
our
The next day's the rest day.
I've had this conversation loads of times. For me, it's a priority. Holiday, if I go on
first thing that goes
holiday, no
in.
matter what I do, it's on the top of my list.
I say that to my clients.
Apart from getting the kids to school, like it is a priority to train. Without question, it will happen. Unless, like today, I'm in bits and I'm tired.
There's so much white noise out there, isn't there? Though we're talking from a position where we're around it all the time, and we're making decisions based on what we know over an experience and stuff. There's so much white noise out there that someone that's just getting into fitness, like it's.
I think if someone's just getting into fitness, like complete newbie, go down the route that Will's just saying, structure, right, and to be fair, I'll probably pretty much say that to people that have like working 9 to 5, city jobs, whatever. You have to structure it. You like 12 o'clock, I'm going to go to the gym, wherever it is in their building for 45 minutes, 3 times, whatever it might be. You have to structure it in the same way that, I don't know, you're going to get your hair done every couple of weeks, or you've got a meeting in, or whatever it might be.
But
put it in the diary.
It's structuring realistic targets as well.
This is what I was about to say. You always want to
so
start at the
unrealistic.
minimum. If you're new and this is something that is going to be a new venture for you in the fitness journey, and you want to start doing regular sessions, the first time I have a call with someone, with a client, I'll say, let's set realistic targets. Set what is the minimum. They say 2 days a week. I'm like, cool, 2 days a week's fine. If you aim, because your motivation's high right now, if you say, right, I'm going to do 6 days a week, 7 days a week, you're not going to stick to that. And it's going to give you a bit of a sad on, because you're not going to be able to achieve that. And then because of that, your motivation's going to be low, you're going to come off track. So it's important to set realistic targets, start at 2 days a week. Once you start nailing that after 2 weeks, right, I've made sure I've hit those sessions, both days, both weeks. Now I can progress to 3 days, and just slowly build things up like that over time is going to give you the best chance of longevity.
Individual question for you three, and me as well, I guess. What motivates you when you're feeling like you don't want to work out?
Working out. I know that I always feel better after that session. I know the feeling of it. I 100% know the feeling of it. I feel like training for me gives me energy as opposed to draining it away from me. I always feel good after it.
Discipline, simple as that.
Yeah.
It is as simple as that. And to go off of what Will said, you do it long enough, you know that you're better for it. Like, genuinely, you're a better person for it.
I think you get to a stage where you actually understand that, and it becomes...
like I go on holiday, and my missus will literally know. She'll be like, she'll know I need to go and train.
Yeah.
Because I will be a better person once I've come back from it.
Yeah.
If we're going out, I mentioned holiday because you're supposed to be doing stuff with the kids. Give me 30 minutes. Give me 30 minutes, and I'll burpee myself till I fall on the floor. And by the end of it, I might be bollocks, right? But give me 10 minutes to recover, and I'm good as gold.
Good as gold, yeah.
Because it's that. Do you know what I mean? So it's discipline more than motive. Like, I'm not... The amount of times, like, people will never see this. A bit like David Goggins talked about it. He said, the amount of times I've stare at my trainers before I go for a run. He goes, I can sit there for an hour, 2 hours staring at my trainers. But he'll eventually get out there and do it. Because
he calls it that 1 second. I was watching a podcast the other day. He calls it his 1 second decision. It's that 1 second split decision in your head where you're like, okay, I can't be asked to do that today. Within that 1 second.
Then you live with regret.
Yeah.
Then
within that 1 second, you make that decision and you go and do it. It's the same thing as waking up early. If you don't want to get up in the morning because you're comfy and you don't have to, you make that 1 second split decision. As soon as your alarm goes off, right, fucking get up straight away. Because if you leave it longer than a second, you're going to fucking get your head down again.
Going on from something you were saying earlier about structure for people, one massive thing about people getting into exercise as well, whatever it is you end up doing, whatever it is, you've got to enjoy it.
100%.
If you don't enjoy it, you're never going to stick at it
100%.
in a million years. So make sure it's enjoyable for you, whatever it is. And I think for me, one of the drivers for me, and we'd already spoke, Glenn's kind of saying it in a different way as well. Part of it is I couldn't be around fitness and being fitness and not be doing it myself.
Not be doing it.
I don't know where that comes from, but that's a massive driver for me. And I think also it gets to the point where you've been doing it for such a long time, it's literally part of who you are. You identify with, well, I train.
Yeah.
If I go on holiday, same as you, I murder myself on holiday. then I can just eat what I like.
But that's a healthy relationship.
You know?
People, like, how many over the years, I know I've had it, people just go, "Oh, you're obsessed." Yeah. Is that such a bad thing?
It's not an unhealthy obsession.
Bad thing to be
It's really
obsessed
not
with
an
being
unhealthy
healthy.
obsession, no.
It's part of your lifestyle.
It's mental, isn't it, how people can look at you and go, "You're obsessed with that." Like, well, yeah, I am actually, and I'm very proud of that fact.
But pull and push your own body weight, be able to run a certain distance in a certain amount of time. It's all useful stuff to have about you. I mean, if you car stop working, you know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
Life.
function. Yeah.
But the biggest
It comes down to functional fitness.
So the biggest compliments I've ever had is when a bloke would walk up to me in the gym and say, "You train hard. How old are you?" And I go, 42. They're like, "You're not 42." And you're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Jesus." That is a compliment. No, but the point is, it's consistency.
And you get
say
a number.
And it's
I'm not going to say anything.
How many numbers have you
I'm just going to stay professional.
Only for your brother, mate.
No, fair enough.
Fair
Do you
enough.
get my point?
Yeah.
It's because my life is is of obsession of training and consistency. That's a compliment, because other blokes are going, "Oh, really?" And they're like, "Well, I'm 38 and I look 10 years older than you," or whatever it is. But the compliment is in the fact that my life is a consistent, evolving thing of exercise and training. And if that's my obsession, then so be it. You know what I mean? And I
Healthy
don't
obsession.
think that's a bad thing to have.
not at
No.
all.
It's part of your lifestyle.
You know, because I say I want to be 50, 60 years old, and people go, "You're pretty good going. You can still run. You can still do this." And you're how old? It's like, yeah, that's a good feeling. You know what I mean?
But it's
Like,
not
who doesn't want to be?
It's not an accident.
Yeah.
No,
not
but
an
the problem is,
accident.
it's
You know what I
like the reason you've got 35, 42, 45-year-olds that are in a shit shape, let's get it right, looking like shit, feeling like shit, eating shit, right? It's because their lifestyle has just dwindled downhill. Because I said to you, there's a study done about, testosterone within males, and they say that, yes, our testosterone does diminish over time as you get older, but it's actually your lifestyle that makes your testosterone plummet faster. Because you get more stressed, you have kids, you're up early, you're not lifting weights, you're not training hard, your lifestyle is so different from your 20s. You can't recover, you don't sleep so well. Guess what that does? It makes your testosterone do that.
It's all those
You
things
look
you were
more
just
like shit. You
speaking
hold
about help
fat.
you maintain that natural test levels.
Yeah, and guess what it is? It's eating relatively whole
Eating
foods
good.
most of the time. It's
Sleeping
lifting
good.
weights.
Lifting
It's
heavy.
lifting your body weight. It's running, exercise, fresh air. That is going to make you a much better 50-year-old.
Everything we should be doing, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Right,
next
last question on this one, because we could be
Went
here
in
for
on
about
that one.
7 hours doing this. What effect does alcohol have on training and results?
Shall I go first?
Go, Swade.
We're
Go, Swade.
all going like this.
So we all know about anabolic steroids, right? Anabolics build up. Basically, having alcohol in your system for any period of time sends your body catabolic, which is the breakdown of muscle. So, as Glenn's saying, if you're putting loads of time, energy, resources into, and especially as we age, what's important is to keep muscle. We tend to lose muscle over time as a result of reduced testosterone levels. So keeping muscle in our body and keeping our strength up is really, really important and something we should prioritise as we age. And essentially, having alcohol in your system, unfortunately, reduces that effect. So if you're training 3 and 4 times a week and you're strength training, drinking alcohol on a regular basis is going to hinder your results on keeping strong and keeping muscle tone high. It's catabolic, which has got some significant effects against your metabolic rate as well. So it's an issue. So it's an issue, and you're seeing younger. There's definitely a shift, I think, with younger people that are definitely moving away from like a bit of a drink culture.
There's so much to be said about alcohol, isn't there? Oh my God.
Yeah.
How long we got
That's
left?
why I've gone with the last
How long
one.
we got
Last
left?
question.
The thing is as well with alcohol is it's known, like, so when we talk about sleep earlier and the importance of recovery, alcohol doesn't allow your body to fall into REM sleep, which is the sleep we need for recovery, right? They did it. So I was with a Marine a few years ago. He's really high up in the Corps, and he was telling me about a study they did with SF lads, and they gave them a unit of alcohol and tested their sleep and their heart rate and stuff. And they figured out that they only 1 unit of alcohol, they weren't recovering. They weren't falling into REM sleep. So when you get really pissed and people say, "Have a glass of wine because it makes me fall asleep better," you basically fall unconscious. You don't actually fall into the deep recovery sleep that we need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you're not actually recovering. You go dribbling like Homer Simpson.
Visually,
like
that
this.
is worth watching just for that.
But you don't recover because of the alcohol prevents you falling into that deep sleep. And then guess what? You wake up in the morning, you feel groggy. Oh, I've got to train today. There's so many, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a drink, but that's one thing you should really limit if you're on a journey. And just to jump in as well, Pauline Earnshaw has been a member for what, 16 years or something like that, whatever. I was chatting her through her. She likes to drink. Don't you, Pauline?
Loads of people.
She likes to drink.
Yeah.
So she messaged me literally yesterday and said, I took your advice. I was like, after 15 odd years, thanks for that. She cut out her alcohol and showed me her sleep app. The sleep, from as soon as she stopped, was so literally, you should have seen the graph. It dramatically changed like that. She said, and I've cut it out and I feel so much better from not having a glass of wine before I go to bed. Massive change.
I always look at this from a fat loss point of view as well. It's like, to me, I don't drink specifically. I haven't had a drink in like 2.5 years properly. The effects, I can't really speak on the effects it has for me because I've never really experienced it properly. But in a fat loss perspective, I have had clients that have just cut out alcohol completely. And that has been the gap between them actually gaining weight and then putting themselves into a deficit. So they haven't changed their diet at all. They've just cut out alcohol entirely. And within a month, they're a stone down just from cutting out alcohol because they're having so many liquid calories. But I think it has such a negative effect over time, and I just call them wasted calories because I don't drink myself, so I don't find them important. I just feel like liquid calories are wasted calories. But if someone was to overconsume at the weekend, it was all going to start from alcohol because you go out on a Friday night, you drink too much, you then eat something that's really shitty and high in calories. You hung over the next day, so you eat something that's more shitty. You might go out again, have more alcohol. That's another 1,500 calories up. So like 10 drinks going to be around 1,500 calories. And then you eat something shit again the next day. And then that's the gap between you being in a deficit to actually being in a surplus and gaining weight over time. So I think alcohol is actually one of the main causes of not just nutrition, but actually specifically alcohol as to why people are gaining a lot of weight over time.
It's a depressant as well. It doesn't do anything good for your motivation. Nothing. I'm sorry, but then people that go, oh, I can still have a drink and this, that and the other. You might be very disciplined, but there's nothing comes from drinking alcohol. What's your body, if you talk about the calories from alcohol, right? If you take, people say, oh, eating a slice of pizza, right? It's carbs, it's fats, it's protein. Your body's going to utilise it, break it down and turn it into energy. What the fuck is your body going to do with alcohol?
Nothing. No.
It can't use it as an energy source.
Yeah, it's got nothing, is it?
It's exactly what you just said. It's
call them dead calories.
It's a complete wasted
calories.
calories.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact you're drinking it, which is your body, you're just going to be like, well, it's done nothing. It's just adding calories. Your body can't use that as a fuel system.
Yeah.
So again, it's just the worst form of calories you can do. It's depressive. It's the worst thing you can do.
One of the, talking about the quality of sleep as well, one of the drivers of sleep is the amount of adenosine in your system at any one time, which is, everybody's heard of ATP, which is what we use of energy. So the more that we use energy during the day, there's something called adenosine which builds up during the day. And when we get to a certain level, it's adenosine that drives us feeling tired. So when you start to feel really sleepy, like when Will's talking, we start to feel really, really, really tired. I listen to Will's podcast to go to sleep.
He didn't even break stride.
That was so unnecessary.
7 minutes is my limit, and then I'm out. His voice is just so good to sleep.
Just one time.
But basically, adenosine as a driver is a driver for sleep, right? And when we get to a certain level, so the more active you are, the more tired you get. Makes loads of sense. So when we sleep and we get REM sleep, as Glyn's saying, we wipe down that adenosine. But the thing is, if we're drinking alcohol, we don't get REM sleep. So we don't wipe down the adenosine in our system, and we wake up and we feel tired. That's why you feel tired when you wake up with alcohol. And then the other thing, as Will's touched on there as well, from a sciencey point of view, you've got that going on, which is one element. The second element is, if you haven't had sleep, you haven't had proper sleep, you wake up and you haven't recovered properly, you're going to make poor decisions around how many people have you dealt with, all joking aside, that go out on a bender and have a couple of nights out, and then over the next 48 hours, that's when the damage is done.
Yeah, it's ruined. It ruins
it. Triggers.
It writes off
poor
because
behaviour.
you already think there's a couple of reasons why that happens. Is you can't make actual sensible decisions when you've had alcohol, when you're drunk. So you just think, fuck it, I'm just going to go and eat this. But also, you look back and you'd be like, oh shit, like I ate this much calories last night. I had drunk this amount of liquid calories. That's my week written off anyway. I may as well just fucking write it off a little bit more and just ruin today and then get back to it on Monday. Yeah, it's just a typical cycle.
Start Monday cycle.
And then
It is a typical cycle.
there's the the depressive side of it, like in how it makes you feel, from a psychological point of view, which are completely different aspects of it.
Conversation,
I was
yeah.
really
That's
shocked at
huge.
the amount of alcohol people actually consume. Like,
Yeah.
I find out like some clients are having like between a couple, they would share like a bottle of wine a night. That to me was like fucking hell.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
that's mad.
That's a
the
lot of
amount of
alcohol.
people that that, and I kind of get it. It's like it's their vice. It's the thing that they enjoy. They like to go, after work and have a pint of beer and all that kind of stuff. It's not. I don't think anybody can ever say there's anything wrong with that. But you need to understand the ramifications of that one that could turn into 2, then 3, then 4.
Yeah.
Start to take ownership of yourself and understand that I'm going to go out for a beer with my mates after work to the pub quickly, but tomorrow's another day. I've got to train because it's good for me. I've got all these things to do.
Disciplined, isn't it?
Let's just have the one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I know we can all joke because especially in my military community, we all laugh and we joke just the one, because when I go out of that lot, it's never one.
Yeah.
It's one, and then you wake up in a coma. That's just the way the military is, right? However, I think people that like to have it, like they're busy at work, and I always go back to city people because their lifestyle is very stressful. They stop work at 6, whatever. They walk through Devonshire Square. We've all seen it at Devonshire Square, right? Walk past the pub at 6:30 in the evening. It is fucking rammed.
They're all stood
Everyone having a
outside
beer,
and-
because that is their release. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But take ownership that if you want serious results and you go 1 beer, 2 beer, 3 beer, you're not going to sleep very well. The next day, you're probably not going to prep food, take lunch. You don't have to prep. That's too bodybuildery, that.
Yeah.
But make sensible decisions because you're going to feel
you're
like
probably
shit.
not
You're not
gonna
going to
train,
sleep.
not gonna-
It's just going to
yeah.
snowball.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I have the discussion with clients all the time, and they're like, "We'll get a month in for their first month, they lost no weight," and we look at their weekends, the amount of alcohol they're consuming, and they'll even say it themselves. They'll be like, "Yeah, my issue is I drink too much alcohol," and I'm like, "Well, what are you going to do about it?"
If you're not going to help
the-
you.
the
It needs to
percentage?
be your health needs to be a priority over going out and.
Right,
just
what are we
smash
saying
the
then? What are we
weekend.
saying? So someone be realistic, right? If you've got, there's a massive drink culture in this country, in there, massive.
Especially in London and the city
And
after work.
I think it's probably unrealistic to say to someone you can't drink.
It is unrealistic.
So, what are we saying? I think if you're going to drink, maybe keep it to 1 day a week and be sensible about it.
And also what you're drinking. Do you know what I mean? Like on a serious note, there are, we all respond differently to different drinks. Do you know what I mean? Like, vodka's probably one of the lesser calorie, cleaner ones. You're less likely to wake up feeling a bit groggy. Not saying that's everyone. Personally, like if I had flipping a glass of wine, my head would be banging.
Quite calorific.
Do you know what I mean? And beer just makes you feel like shit.
200 calories a pint, 10 beers. It's like eating a Mars bar, isn't it? You wouldn't go out and eat 10 Mars bars, would you?
But I think
It's like it's just dead calories.
It is dead.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Ask for it when you have a pint of beer. Ask for a top. Top it off with a bit of water it down a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Just try and make sensible decisions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make sure you've eaten well. You've been active that day. You've drunk. You're hydrated, because we all know that alcohol is going to dehydrate the shit out of you, and that's bad. So hydrate. Make sure you're hydrated. Just I know this seems like a lot to think about, but what we're trying to say is, no one's saying that you can't go and have a drink, because it is unrealistic.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people that I know, they're not going to not go and have a drink after work
Yeah,
because
no,
they
100%.
enjoy it. And it's like saying to someone, you want to lose weight, you're never to eat chocolate anymore. Well, guess what? They're never going to stick to that fucking diet, are they? If you completely tell them
100%.
to cut out the one thing they fucking enjoy.
Don't want to feel like we're alcohol bashing here, but
No.
I can't.
Yeah, no,
I
100%.
can't see us
But
getting
it's,
an alcohol-based sponsor anytime soon.
But it's about being accountable to your
Yeah,
results and
100%.
what you want. If you
Yeah.
want to have that beer or wine or whatever it is,
Expect
do
your
that.
results to take
but
a bit longer.
then you've got to think, right, yeah, how long have I set myself back now? If I'm going to lose a whole day, then I've got to make up another day somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's about being accountable and then just forward thinking with it, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
We covered a lot of ground there.
That
was
was
quite a lot of
lot,
like-
wasn't it? Right, guys, like and subscribe. Please share this. I hope you guys got a little bit of information from the boys. We will do another Q&A because we have got loads and loads of questions as well. So, keep sharing it. And if you've got any other questions or any other feedback for the boys, please send it over to us. Thank you very much.